Hello and welcome to Talking Good Game. It's a preview of Crystal Palace against West Ham United. The Eagles have one win in 9 Premier League games so far, but yet they're only 5 points behind West Ham heading into this fixture. It could be Slaven Bilic's last game. It could be Slaven Bilic's last game until he gets another 2 games. We're here to talk about the fixture. Tom, let's kick us off. What do you make of Crystal Palace?
This season, mate, absolutely shocking, to be honest with you, mate. They've scored only 2 goals when they beat Chelsea. That is it in the league. So they've been really, really poor. Thankfully, they've been one of the teams that's been worse than us. So we're not actually at the bottom in the bottom 3, I don't think. So yeah, so they've been really, really poor this season, mate. And the only good thing is, as I said, that's a good thing for us. That's the only reason why we're not down there.
Arthurs, what about yourself? The Eagles are failing to fly so far, but what do you make of them?
Exactly what Tom said. Exactly what he's just alluded to. You know, they've really struggled this season. Similar to what we said almost yesterday, they've seemed to have lost their identity in the past few months. What with the new manager coming in, and they've not, given him time to settle. But especially you're coming off the back of a few seasons where you'd have thought that they needed stability at the club, and having an English manager who knew the Premier League. They took a step to go and get someone like De Boer. It backfired, and unfortunately injuries as well on top of that. It's pretty much screwed them really in the first part of the season, and it's probably been down to why they've been so poor.
Tom, sometimes we call West Ham a one-man team. If we don't have Lanzini, we'll struggle. Are Crystal Palace a one-man team as well with Zaha, or is there anyone else in that team you fear?
No, they've got some good players. I mean, Cabaye. I mean, you can never. I mean, there's similarities between Cabaye and Payet. Obviously, like they're both quite skillful players, and Cabaye's a good player. No, and they got I wanted that Sacco guy as well. That unit they got in defence. He's a really good player. I think he'd fit into our team, to be honest. They've got some good players apart, but Zaha is a good player. He does stand out for him.
Arthurs, is Crystal Palace right now the example of what poor transfer business can do for you, particularly when you don't invest in strikers apart from Benteke?
I think so. I think really you could have sort of said that the last few years that their transfer policy hasn't been, up to scratch. You haven't bought, especially like I alluded to a second ago, that they've been teetering on that relegation zone to 16th, 17th place. Obviously, it came down to the last game of the season against Hull last season. So you would expect stability, and you want guys who are going to be able to know the Premier League, they know the way about it, they know the difficulties it faces, and the long stretch, especially towards the end of the season, how hard it can get. So I think Steve Parish has tried to run before he can walk. When we came back into the league, we needed a few faces to almost just keep us there for a few seasons. We kept Allardyce for 4 years to give us that stability before trying to move to the next level. And I think almost he's just tried to get there too soon. And like I said to you a second ago, it's backfired. And yeah, I think that not only with the manager policy, but the transfer policy as well, that they ought to be taking a look at.
Now a quarter of the way through the season, Tom, do you think Crystal Palace are going to get relegated this season?
I do, mate. Yeah, I do think they're going to go down. And it's just a case of who the other two are going to be. I said that once. I don't think no team's ever lost. Was it the first 6 games, wasn't it? 6 games they lost. I mean, it's a record. But hey, if anyone, but they're only 5 points behind us, So I did think that, but no one expected to beat Chelsea. Yeah, I do think they're going down, Gio.
What about yourself, Arthurs? Are you predicting them to go through the trapdoor as well?
I think they've been teetering on it, like I said, for the past few seasons. So I think that they will, especially to the start of the season. Like Tom said, nobody expected them to do what they did against Chelsea. So it was a shock. They played well. I think, obviously, if they've got Benteke and Zaha back, they're a different team. But I expect them to go down. Obviously, I don't think it's probably fully emerged yet who the other 2 teams are that are going to go with them or potentially could go with them. But right now, they are potentially or looking like the worst team in the league by far.
I remember a few seasons ago, we were comparing ourselves to Crystal Palace in the transfer market. As Tom said, they brought in the likes of Cabaye, Benteke, and we were thinking, what are Palace doing, splashing all this cash? And we were the ones sort of underspending in comparison. How times have changed. I think they might be okay, actually. I mean, I think the bottom table is really, really tight. If we win, we can go as high as 11, but if we lose, Crystal Palace are literally 2 points behind us, and we go away to Watford. So they could easily be ahead of us this time in 2 weeks' time. That's how close the bottom is. I think they'll be okay. I think they've got a decent enough manager. They've got some decent enough players. No one special, but Zaha's a match winner. But anyway, last night Charlie spoke to a Crystal Palace fan. So if you would like to hear their opinion of the game, you can stick around at the end. The link will be on our video right about here soon. You can find that on the channel as well and see what they think. Now, let's talk about West Ham. Tom, against Tottenham. We played 5-3-2, a formation we haven't really seen before. Would you stick with that, bearing in mind that we won?
I would stick with it, yes. I would change a few of the players though that started in that game, but I would stick with that, yes.
Who would you change, Tom, straight away? I mean, like you said, Bilic did do 9 subs from Brighton to Spurs. So how many would you be looking at?
Well, the two that stick out to me, you have to go straight back in. I know you've rung a poll, and a lot of people have got a lot of love him and everything. But Adrian, look, it's for me, Hart's a better goalkeeper than Adrian, and we're not going to pay someone like Hart. He's been brought in obviously to play Premier League games, and obviously, so we're not going to pay him £100,000 a week to sit on the bench. So Hart will come back in. But if he sticks with Adrian, I'm not going to be disappointed. You know, we've got two really good. We've got 2 great goalkeepers. You know, there's no wrong answer really. So, but I'll put Hart back in, and obviously Byram out for Zabaleta in the defence. And I would also change the centre backs as well. You know, 1 or 2 centre backs. So there is a few, but Zabaleta and Hart stick out to me straight away to come back in.
What about yourself, Arthurs? Will you be keeping the 5-3-2? I mean, it was literally this fixture last year. Bilic switched to a back 3. He was under pressure going into the Palace game and switched to a back 3. We won 1-0. That 18 passes before we scored. Would you be keeping the 5-3-2 for this one?
I would. I think obviously, you know, we've come off of a fantastic win yesterday. So I think you do have to do it. Like Tom said, it's the goalkeeper conundrum at the end of the day. Are we going to really pay Joe Hart to sit on the bench for 100k a week? I don't think he will. So I think Hart comes back in. Zabaleta, I think, comes back in for Byram. Ogbonna, you know, did himself a lot of justice last night putting in a performance like that, but so did Declan Rice as well. You know, it's difficult because I didn't see it last night, but I saw his stat sheet this morning. Something 97% completion rate of passes, 7 interceptions or 4 blocks or something along those lines. Like, he was fantastic last night. So I think obviously Reedy, Fonte, and it's down to either Ogbonna or Rice as to who gets the start. Knowing Bilic, Ogbonna will probably be in there. I think Cresswell stays in there, but I also think Ayew and Mark Noble. I think Mark Noble's got to be the first name on the team sheet again next weekend. I thought he was brilliant last night. But I'd like to see that duo potentially leaving Arnautovic on the bench and seeing almost a duo of Hernandez and Ayew now, just to see how that works. Because like we said, we'd like to potentially see Ayew in that free role in behind the striker. And it might work a little bit better than it did with Carroll. So yeah, I'd definitely first name on the team sheet for me is Mark Noble next on Saturday, and have a few of the other regular faces back in.
I too would bring in Joe Hart. I don't see it as a big debate really. Joe Hart's not done anything wrong for me. I don't see. Yes, Adrian played fantastic against Spurs, but unfortunately, Joe Hart's shirt wasn't up for grabs. I don't think. It's a bit like the centre backs played well, but I don't think I don't think Font and Reed's shirts were really up for grabs going into that game. Other positions, centre midfield, certainly. The 3 names on the team sheet for me would be Ayew, Noble because of Spurs, and Zabaleta because of what he's done this season. But I really want to see Sam Byram keep his place at right wing back. I think it's crucial that him and Cresswell are going down that wing. I'm not sure Zabaleta has the attacking side to him that Sam Byram has. But the problem is then, where do you then play Zabaleta? He's got to play. So where do you play him? Do you play him as the 3rd centre back alongside Reed and Font, or do you try and put him into centre midfield where Pep Guardiola used to play him? That's the debate, and that's the one I'm having trouble with. But I would like to see Sam Byram start. I think he was fantastic against Spurs, and I think he's our best right wing back actually. Tom, striker. Ayew scored 2 against Spurs. You've got Andy Carroll, who had a part to play in some of the goals last night. You've got Hernandez, who is our best striker on paper. You've got Sacco, who's got the best goal scoring 2 minutes this season. Who would you be playing up front?
Well, obviously we're sticking with the 3-5-2. So you have to be Hernandez has got. I mean, to be honest with you, Hernandez hasn't been fantastic since he scored his 2 goals at Southampton. He hasn't been good. He hasn't been ticking. But Hernandez got to go in. And I don't want to see Ayew playing as on the wing or in the midfield because he doesn't run. But he is. As I said this, I noticed everyone's noticed it. All the goals he does scores are poaching goals. So I'd have 2. I'd have him and Hernandez up top by himself. I just want to see him in a poaching role as a striker.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I would go Ayew and Hernandez. I know Tom's saying the same as well. But last question then for the lineup. Arthurs, who would you play in centre midfield then? You've got Noble and Lanzini. Who gets the 3rd spot? Fernandez played well against Spurs. Was it well enough playing Premier League? But then you've got Kiai and Obiang as well. Or do you go curveball?
It's a tough one because do you know what though? After last night, I don't think Chiati should start. We earmarked it last night. He was at fault for a couple of the goals. The first, well, obviously both Spurs goals he was at fault for. So I'd potentially have Obiang back in. I know Fernandes did play extremely well last night, but I just think having Obiang and Noble in midfield just offers that bit more security. And I think it's tough, like I said, because I thought, like we both said last night, Fernandes was exceptional. Maybe he's too tired for Saturday playing a midweek game. I don't know. He's only young. So I would have Obiang and Noble back in here and Lanzini just in front.
Tom, quickly, who would you have in beside Noble and Lanzini?
Gio, I mean, you raised a good point with Zabaleta, actually. I didn't think about it, and I forgot the fact that he did play centre midfield for in Man City. So if you're going to throw a curveball in there, you want to put Zabaleta in the team, you don't want to drop Byram, put Zabaleta in there with with Noble and Lanzini. Well, I mean, his work rate's fantastic on the right, so why can't we throw him in there?
The part of the reason I'd like to see him in there is because I don't think Obiang or Chiati deserve the start, in all honesty. I think they've both been poor this season. That leaves Fernandes, but I'm not overly inspired by that. You could put Rice in there and put Zabaleta at the back. That's something. Interestingly, though, none of us would have mentioned Michail Antonio. It's unknown if he's going to be back from a rib injury, but even if he was, none of us have mentioned him. Where would you play him in a 5-3-2? Also, record signing Marko Arnautovic. None of us have mentioned him either, so our bench could be quite promising on Saturday. But you guys at home, let us know what 11 you want to see. Lots of options for Slaven Bilic, lots of possibilities and lots of answers. But does he have a lot of match-winning teams? Tom, is this a must-win game, or is a point acceptable from this one?
No, it's a must-win game. It's a must-win game. A point, I mean, yeah, any point away from home is good. You know, it depends how the point pans out. I always say that, you know, a loss is not. No, we can't have a loss because then Palace only, as you said, 2 points behind us. We need to get all 3 points. But obviously, if we're losing 2-0 as we are, like as an instance at half time, like we were against Spurs, and we come back to 2-2, it's a hard-fought point. You take it any point away from home, but we need to go into this game on the basis we're going to get all 3, Gio.
What about yourself, Arthurs? Would you be happy with a point from this one? Or is it a case of Palace are down, we have to kick them?
Exactly like Tom said. This is a must-win. This is massive for Bilic. It's massive for the team, like you said. But we're too close to comfort now with Palace. And I know we've been poor this season, but we look at the teams on paper, we should be absolutely wiping the floor with Palace, especially with the injuries they've got as well. Realistically, obviously every game in the Premier League is supposed to be a tough game, but it shouldn't be close between the two teams on Saturday. I think, obviously, yesterday was a massive boost for us, but there's serious questions if we're losing to Palace on Saturday. And I obviously don't want us to, but I'm still a little bit nervous for Saturday. I'm still a little bit nervous.
Well, our little gem Manuel Lanzini has 4 goals and 4 appearances against Crystal Palace, and Slaven Bilic has a decent record against them as well. He's been in charge of 4 games against the Eagles, winning 3 and drawing 1. He's not yet lost a game against Crystal Palace. Tom, are you confident for this one?
Yeah, after the result against the second half against Spurs, I was at half time. I was suicidal, to be honest with you. The way we played in the first half and last Friday against Brighton, I'm very confident, Gio. Yeah, I'm quite confident. Yeah, more confident I was. Yeah, about 2 days ago. But just go back to the original point, though, Gio. I didn't mention Arnautovic because obviously Arnautovic, I don't think he's been a good signing for us. But and I haven't mentioned Antonio because I don't think Antonio, as you said, is fit. We can't keep playing him. We need him to get fully fit, and then we can start including him in our teams. But if he plays him, yeah, again, I think he's going to pick up another injury, you know. So, but I'm confident.
What about yourself, Arthur? Are you confident for this one? How do we win this game?
I think Bilic in a way just has to know with the system and the team that he's going to play, how he's going to play it. Like, I think obviously if he puts in people like Arnautovic and Antonio, if he does play them at the weekend, you know, often we were trying to get the ball, we were trying to get crosses in when we played Brighton last weekend. We didn't have Carroll in the team. Excuse me. So last night, I think actually playing more centrally is probably would adhere to potentially unlocking the best out of Hernandez and Ayew, you know, playing through the middle with Lanzini, you know, in behind the 2 strikers. So I just think Bilic has to know how he's going to set up with the team and to play to the team's strengths, because I think like last week we saw against Brighton, you know, with the record many crosses this season for a team, you know, that we put into the box. So I think he has to know what system he's going to rock with. And how, like I said, how he's going to get the best out of them. But I just do think we saw last night at times playing more centrally and through Lanzini just almost it helped IU last night. So yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not overly as confident as Tom is. I think obviously we've got a brilliant result in the cup or whatever, quarter final to look forward to, but I'm still there's still just bits about Bilic that makes me nervous, you know. But I do think we can potentially pull a result out on Saturday, but I'm still not overly confident. There's two sides to West Ham recently. There's the side that we saw for 90 minutes at Burnley and 45 minutes against Spurs, where we were grafting, we were working for one another. We were a team, we were a unit, we were creating, we played decent football, actually. And then there's a side that we saw for 90 minutes against Brighton in the first half against Spurs, where the players are just not interested. They can't string 2 passes together. They can't even do 5 yards passes. And there's just nothing. And it completely comes down to which team turns up. And the players have to take a lot of responsibility. Bilic has to get it right. And I think 5-3-2 is right, because we tend to keep a lot of clean sheets with 3 at the back. Palace have scored in 1 game so far this season in Premier League once. They haven't kept the clean sheet yet. They are vulnerable. If we score early, their confidence, which is probably at an all-time low anyway, will be gone altogether. We have to start on the front foot, and it's not something we do a lot of, which worries me. But prediction time. Tom, you're the most confident, so I'm coming to you first. What's your score prediction for Saturday?
Yeah, as I said, I do fancy us to get the 3 points. So I'm going to go. It's going to be a low-scoring game, Gio. So I'm going to go 2-0 West Ham. 2-0
West Ham. Arthurs, what about yourself?
Like I said, I think we'll win, but I'm just not overly confident, because I like you've just alluded to there, I don't know why we can't come out of the traps and play like we did in the second half. In the first half, you know, in the first minute, we knew what kind of a game it was and what it meant for Bilic's job and almost our season in a way last night. So why we couldn't do that from the first whistle, I don't know. Like you said, I do think we have to come out on the front foot against Palace, because they're going to be up for it. They need the points. They know the position that they're in at the minute. So I'm going to go 2-1 us. I think they're going to score, because whenever a team has a record against us that needs, you know, being broken, who haven't scored in however many games, whatever, you know, we always let them have that. So I think it's going to be 2-1. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than some people think.
On Wednesday, they said that this is our plans cup final. They may very well be right, but come Saturday, this is Slaven Bilic's cup final. This is where he determines if he keeps his job for another week or 2 or not. When Bilic has a cup final, as any manager does in a cup final, he plays for the result. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about entertainment. He doesn't care about how he gets the result. He goes for it, and it usually is a 1-0 victory. And that's what I'm going to go for as well. I think we're going to get a 1-0. A clean sheet is going to be boring to watch. I don't think we're going to do very much, but I don't think Palace have got a lot about them either to really harm us. But we've got a lot of options on the bench as well. We've got a lot of game changers on there, whoever is on that bench, whether it's Carroll or Nautovic, maybe IU's on the bench as well. There's a lot of people on there Bilic can bring on and change the game. And for that, I'm reasonably confident. But anyway, you guys at home, let us know if you're confident, what your score predictions are, and what lineup you want to see. There's loads and loads of possibilities for this one. I mean, when we did a poll on Twitter earlier, it was near enough 50-50 as to who they want to see in between the sticks. We can't even agree on that. Also, make sure you subscribe if you're new to the channel. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And go check out Charlie's Q&A with a Crystal Palace fan, which will be on your screen right now. And we'll see you on Saturday for the review and hopefully celebrating 3 points for West Ham United.